Si tengo tiempo, platicamos un ratito ahorita. You know, what happened here is exactly what's going on in all places. We are really mad. We're upset. We don't like what's going on when it comes to immigration policy in this country. And I think we can do something about it. And what they're trying to do is to change what they don't like. And I think that's right. I mean, I think we have to listen and listen hard to them. So, you know, exactly 30 years ago, 1994, Cesar Chavez said the following words: "We've seen the future, and the future is ours." That's what he said. Cesar Chavez was not a brujo, but he was a wise man. He knew that something important was going on in this country. He knew that things were changing, and he had seen the future. And this is precisely the future. Exactly that year, 1984, I got my first job as a reporter here in the United States. And I had left Mexico because I didn't want to be a censored journalist. Back then in Mexico, it was impossible to say anything that wasn't controlled by the government. So I sold my car, an old Beagle, and then Volkswagen chiquito rojo horrible, pero me dio algo de dinero. And then with that money, I came to the United States. And then of course I thought I was the only one, you know, when you're young. By the way, when I came here, I was 24, and I still remember that beautiful feeling of being able to carry everything with my own hands. Everything that I own, everything. A suitcase, a guitar, and some papers, everything that I own, I was able to carry that. I can't say the same thing right now. But it was a beautiful feeling of freedom. And I'm sure each one of you remember that first day when you arrived to this country. I mean, it's like, I can only compare it to having a baby. You know? And I remember exactly how it was. And I'm sure if I asked each one of you, how was that first day when you came to this country, it was amazing. The thing is that it's never personal. I thought I was the only one doing this heroic thing, living in Mexico, living in Central Europe, and come to the United States. And then later I realized that there were millions of us doing exactly the same. Millions of Mexicans, millions of people coming from Central America and South America doing exactly the same thing. So when I first arrived, there were, 1984, 1983, there were about 50 million Latinos. And then right now we are 55 million Latinos. And in 35 years from now, there's going to be 150 million Latinos in this country. In other words, 1 in 3 Latinos, 1 in 3 people in this country are going to be Latinos. And they really have to listen to us. And that's the difference. I think our challenge, the big challenge right now, is to go from big numbers to real power. Let me repeat that, because, and it's not going to be easy, to go from big numbers, which we have, to real power. And we are right now in the middle of a truly demographic political revolution. Just from the basic, more tortillas are being sold than bagels and hamburger buns, you know that. It is true, more salsa than ketchup. I didn't believe that, and then I went to do my research, and it's true, more salsa than ketchup. I still remember how proud we were when Emilio and Gloria Estefan were doing the crossover, and then you were listening to someone talking in Spanish and being in the mainstream, and Ricky Martin singing, and Jennifer Lopez. And then now we're so used to it that whenever Shakira sings, we think it's a given. And Bruno Mars in the Super Bowl, well, his name is Peter Hernandez. So this incredible demographic revolution is happening everywhere. Some of the most watched television shows right now in Union City and New York and Chicago, San Antonio, Miami, they're in Spanish. Some of the most listened to radio shows in all the country are in Spanish. And the accents, we're so used to Sofia Vergara and the first Hispanic bachelor having an accent, and including mine too, of course. I still remember when I first arrived, I couldn't even speak a word of English, and I couldn't even understand myself. Sometimes it happens. But and after reading the history of this country, you realize that we've come a long way. just a few decades ago, in Arizona and in California, there were signs that said, no dogs and Mexicans allowed. Can you imagine that? In parks and in stores, no dogs and Mexicans allowed. And now when you go to Pilsen in Chicago, and to Hialeah, and to East LA, there are signs that say English spoken here. So many things have changed in this country. It's quite a change. And let me go back to the main idea, which is that we have to go from big numbers to real power. Every 4 years, politicians pay attention to us and to the Hispanic community because they need us. They need the Hispanic vote. And that's why we had President George W. Bush, who became the first U.S. president, who thought that he spoke Spanish. And you know what? He made an effort speaking Spanish, and it paid off for him. He was, twice he was president of the United States. And not only that, both parties, they really need to listen to us right now. I criticized President Barack Obama very openly for not keeping his word. In 2008, I still remember in Denver, he promised me, not to anyone else, he promised me, and it's on tape, that during his first year in office, he was going to introduce immigration reform. He didn't do it. The excuse was, there always seems to be an excuse. We obviously forget in 2008 and 2009 we were in the middle of an economic crisis, but still, if he was not going to keep his word, he shouldn't have said that. And then he promised that he was going to do something about 11 million undocumented immigrants in this country before the end of the summer, and I think it's the fall already. So he didn't keep his promise again. Now, we have to remember that it is not Democrats in this case, and I criticize Democrats, but it is Republicans who block immigration reform in Congress. Because Republicans block immigration reform in Congress, nothing absolutely is being done right now. But the big difference is that we are a lot of people here. And the changes I'm noticing are everywhere. Just a few years ago, whenever I would go to give speeches to universities or promoting my books, I would always ask the kids going to those events if they wanted to be president of the United States. And very few hands would raise. But nowadays, when I go to talk to the people, it's a different story. It's a completely different story. Because I think after President Barack Obama was elected, there's a realization in the Hispanic community that something similar could happen with us. It's very simple. If there are more Latinos than African Americans in the United States, of course, very soon we should have our first president or presidenta hispana aquí en los Estados Unidos. That's the next step. So at the end, I think Cesar Chavez was right. We've seen the future, and the future is ours. But his future, and that's so exciting, his future is precisely right now, and it is our responsibility. Déjenme decir solo unas palabras más en español. La idea de este evento es que se escuche nuestra voz, y nuestras voces se tienen que escuchar. Estoy seguro que queremos tener 100 Cesar Chavez o 200 Cesar Chavez, pero la realidad es que muchos de ustedes y quienes están siendo mis héroes en este momento son los Dreamers, porque los Dreamers en este país han logrado lo que ningún otro grupo inmigrante ha logrado. No solo han conseguido DACA por parte del presidente, sino que están luchando por sus padres y por otros como ellos. Ellos son los nuevos Cesar Chavez. Ellos se dan cuenta que si van y se enfrentan, que si van y protestan como lo hicieron aquí, que si van y dicen lo que quieren, las cosas pueden cambiar. Así que creo que el mejor ejemplo que tenemos en nuestra comunidad son grandes ejemplos, son Cesar Chavez y los Dreamers. Les agradezco muchísimo. Les agradezco mucho que hayan venido aquí a hablar con nosotros y de nuevo déjenme decirles una cosa, los estamos escuchando. Gracias, buenas noches.